Think about that late-night kitchen raid. You walk down the hallway, pull open the pantry, and grab a sleeve of the exact same chocolate chip or cream-filled cookies you have been eating since middle school. You pour a glass of milk, take a bite, and quietly ignore that weird, waxy film coating the roof of your mouth. You probably thought it was just you getting older, or maybe your taste buds changing over time. It is not you. That waxy residue, that slightly chemical aftertaste, and the aggressive sugar crash that hits you 30 minutes later are not a personal flaw. You are being targeted by hyper-engineered industrial formulas designed to mimic the texture of a homemade treat while secretly cutting every possible corner to maximize corporate profit margins. The food industry has slowly normalized a standard of garbage, and we have been conditioned to buy it, eat it, and smile through the synthetic aftertaste. You do not have to keep playing their game. In this investigation, you will discover the exact laboratory data and legal loopholes that allow massive snack conglomerates to sell you fake chocolate without legally being allowed to call it chocolate on the label. We will expose the hidden industrial stabilizers lurking in America's favorite lunchbox staples, dissect the marketing illusions that make ultra-processed junk look like rustic health food, and identify the specific major brands you need to purge from your grocery list immediately. Most importantly, if you stay until the very end, I will reveal the single most shocking betrayal by a premium cookie giant that quietly stripped its packaging of actual product while keeping prices sky-high at Target and Kroger. By the time we finish this breakdown, you will possess more leverage over your grocery bill and your health than 90% of supermarket shoppers. Let's look at how a cookie is actually supposed to be built. Traditionally, baking relies on a few basic pillars: real flour, pure sugar, real dairy butter, and a pinch of salt. It is an occasional indulgence, absolutely, but it is supposed to be made from actual food that your body recognizes. Today, walking down the snack aisle at Walmart or Safeway is closer to navigating a petrochemical refinery. The massive corporations pulling the strings realized decades ago that real ingredients are expensive, volatile, and spoil quickly. Their solution was a systemic, multi-decade bait and switch where they stripped out the expensive components like real butter and pure cocoa butter, replacing them with heavily refined vegetable oils, cheap palm fat, and high fructose corn syrup. Think of it like buying a brand new car. But instead of a metal engine under the hood, the manufacturer secretly installed a plastic lawnmower motor, painted it silver, and pumped artificial engine revving sounds through the stereo speakers. That is exactly what you are putting in your mouth. When you bite into a mass-market cookie today, you are rarely eating real chocolate. Instead, you are consuming what the Food and Drug Administration technically categorizes as compound coating or chocolate-flavored confectionery. This is a synthetic mixture where the natural cocoa butter, the component that actually melts beautifully at human body temperature, has been completely stripped out and sold off to luxury cosmetic companies for high-end lotions. In its place, corporations sub in cheap palm oil bleached with industrial chemicals, bound together with emulsifiers like soy lecithin and polyglycerol polyricinoleate, to keep these Franken cookies from falling apart on the shelves of your local CVS or Costco for months on end. The industry relies heavily on texturizers and moisture retention agents. They use ingredients like highly processed starches and chemically altered lipids designed exclusively for shelf life longevity rather than human digestion. They are engineering an approximation of food, using synthetic flavor packets to spark the exact neurological response of vanilla or butter, while the actual nutritional value is buried under a mountain of industrial additives. We have been conditioned to accept this degraded reality because the packaging still features the same nostalgic logos and comforting slogans we trusted as kids. But behind that bright cardboard facade lies a calculated corporate strategy to test exactly how much fake food American consumers will swallow before they finally look at the ingredients. Let's start stripping away the corporate illusions, beginning with the least obvious offenders and moving all the way to the most absolute betrayal sitting on your kitchen counter. We are kicking things off with a brand everyone associates with wholesome, rustic mornings: Nature Valley Crunchy Granola Bars. Distributed everywhere from Costco to your local Kroger by General Mills, this snack has spent decades crafting an image of mountain hikes, fresh air, and pure natural energy. You see the textured, rough-cut oats on the box, and your brain immediately thinks you are making a virtuous choice. The reality is an absolute marketing scam. The Clean Label Project, an independent advocacy group that tests consumer products for industrial and environmental contaminants, has repeatedly flagged processed snack bars for heavy metals and pesticide residues like glyphosate. When you look past the rustic green packaging, you realize the second ingredient on the list after whole grain oats is pure sugar, followed closely by canola or palm oil, and topped off with corn syrup. The practical, sensory experience of eating these is telling. They don't chew like real baked oats. They shatter into a million dry crumbs because they are held together by a dehydrated sugar cement. You are paying a massive premium for what is essentially a crumbled cookie masquerading as a fitness supplement. It is a brilliant corporate trick. Slap the word nature on the front and let the consumer's health halo bias do the rest of the selling for free. If you are already feeling the urge to run to your pantry and check the back of your snack wrappers, hit that subscribe button right now, because the corporate deception only gets nastier from here. Next up is Keebler Fudge Stripes. For generations, these cookies have been sold under the whimsical imagery of magical elves baking treats inside a hollow tree. The brand was acquired by the global confectionery giant Ferrero a few years back, and if you look at what is actually hitting the shelves at Walmart and Target today, the magic is completely gone. The main accusation here is blatant legal deception regarding their headline ingredient. Turn the package over and read the ultra-fine print. It does not say milk chocolate. It explicitly states fudge coating. Why? Because under FDA regulations, you cannot call something chocolate if it swaps out natural cocoa butter for cheap industrial vegetable fats. Keebler relies heavily on palm oil, palm kernel oil, and soy lecithin to mimic the texture of chocolate. When you eat a fudge stripe, pay attention to the way that dark coating melts. Real chocolate dissolves smoothly from the heat of your tongue. This stuff feels waxy, leaving a greasy film behind that refuses to wash away without a hot drink. The corporate bean counters engineered this recipe to cut costs to the absolute bone, trading consumer satisfaction for cheaper logistics. The verdict zinger is simple. Those elves aren't baking with magic. They are operating a chemical processing plant disguised as a childhood memory. Moving down this list, let's talk about Pepperidge Farm Milano cookies. Owned by the Campbell Soup Company, Pepperidge Farm has carefully cultivated a high-class, European-inspired aesthetic. The distinct white paper bag, the elegant script, and the premium price tag suggest you are buying a sophisticated treat meant for a high-end coffee break. But let's look at the actual mechanics of what you are paying for. A standard bag at Safeway or Publix typically costs well over $4 for just a handful of cookies, making the cost per serving incredibly high compared to generic store brands. And what do you get for that luxury markup? The chocolate layer between those distinct biscuits is heavily padded with hydrogenated and intra-esterified vegetable oils, alongside the standard industrial emulsifier soy lecithin. Consumers frequently complain in recent reviews that the modern Milano tastes far more dry and brittle than it did a decade ago, with a chocolate filling that has shrunk to a mere whisper of a smear. The company relies entirely on the premium packaging to justify a luxury price point for a mass-produced, oil-stabilized biscuit. You are not paying for fine pastry craftsmanship. You are paying a premium tax on fancy cardboard and corporate nostalgia. Now we enter the territory of the heavy hitters, and we have to talk about Nabisco Chips Ahoy! Original. This is arguably the most recognized chocolate chip cookie in the United States, a staple of school lunches and late-night snacks for over 60 years, now controlled by the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate Mondelez International. The brand has built an ironclad reputation on the promise of an abundance of real chocolate chips in every bag. However, multiple consumer class actions lawsuits and investigative deep dives have targeted mass-market cookies just like these for their aggressive use of high-fructose corn syrup and heavily processed palm oil to maintain shelf stability. When you bite into an original Chips Ahoy, the texture is unnaturally crunchy and dry, lacking the rich, buttery crumb of a real cookie. It is a texture designed specifically to withstand months of sitting in hot delivery trucks and warehouse pallets without degrading. The chips themselves are loaded with dextrose and artificial flavors to mask the lack of genuine cocoa depth. Mondelez has systematically optimized this recipe over the years to survive the industrial supply chain, successfully transforming a classic homemade recipe into a highly resilient, sugar-stabilized commerce unit. That brings us to the ultimate icon of the American snack aisle, the Nabisco Oreo. Sold by the tens of billions and culturally elevated to an American institution, the Oreo is a masterclass in corporate illusion. It is famously celebrated in online circles for being accidentally vegan, which sounds like a fun, eco-friendly trivia fact until you think about the dark reality behind it. A cream-filled cookie that contains absolutely zero dairy cream and never has in its modern formulation. Instead, that iconic white center is a whipped emulsion of sugar, palm oil, high fructose corn syrup, and artificial vanillin. The dark, almost jet black wafers aren't naturally that color either. The cocoa powder undergoes an intense chemical alkalizing process known as Dutching, which strips away the natural acidity and antioxidants of the cocoa to leave behind a bitter, neutralized chalk that requires massive amounts of sugar to taste palatable. Furthermore, the palm oils industry behind these massive supply chains faces constant, intense scrutiny from global environmental organizations over allegations of mass deforestation and habitat destruction. When you perform the classic twist, lick, and dunk ritual, you aren't participating in an innocent family tradition. You are consuming a highly processed disk of chemically altered fat and alkalized sugar designed to override your brain's satiety signals. Finally, the number one slot belongs to the most egregious example of corporate greed on the modern supermarket shelf, the Balsen Choco Leibniz. While this brand markets its historic German heritage as an ultra-premium alternative to American snacks in upscale grocery stores like Whole Foods and Wegmans, their recent corporate tactics are a slap in the face to loyal consumers. The ingredients themselves are actually decent, real milk chocolate and real butter, which makes the ultimate betrayal even worse. In a textbook case of shrinkflation, the company quietly altered their classic packaging. For years, a standard box contained 9 perfectly arranged biscuits weighing 125 grams. Without changing the physical size of the box or lowering the price by a single cent at the register, they quietly reduced the contents to just 8 biscuits weighing 111 grams. A corporate spokesperson explicitly blamed rising global cocoa supply chain costs for the shift. They didn't want to lose a fraction of their profit margin, so they decided to let the consumer pay the exact same price for noticeably less food, gambling on the fact that you wouldn't notice a single missing cookie in the tray. It is the ultimate corporate shell game, shrinking the product, maintaining the luxury price tag, and hoping the American shopper keeps blindly paying more for less. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through for. We have waded through the corporate slime, the waxy industrial fats, and the calculated deception of shrinkflation. It is time to talk about the absolute winners that prove you do not have to compromise your health or your standards just to enjoy a simple treat. These are the products that treat you like an ally, not a target market, and they are sitting right on the shelves of normal American grocery stores like Target, Whole Foods, Kroger, and Publix. First up is the ultimate reality check for the entire snack industry: Walker's Pure Butter Shortbread Fingers. If you want definitive, laboratory-grade proof that a mass-market cookie does not require a petrochemical engineering degree to taste incredible, you look at the back of this box. The entire ingredient list contains exactly 4 items: wheat flour, butter, sugar, and salt. That is it. There is 0 palm oil, 0 high fructose corn syrup, 0 soy lecithin, and 0 synthetic texturizers. Walker's is still a family-owned operation that bakes their products in the Scottish Highlands, exporting them directly to almost every major American supermarket chain. When you open a pack, the sensory difference is immediate. There is no artificial, hyper-intense vanilla fragrance engineered in a lab to trick your brain. Instead, you get the rich, heavy aroma of actual dairy butter. When you take a bite, it does not shatter into chalky dust or leave a weird, greasy film on the roof of your mouth. It melts completely and cleanly, because real dairy butter dissolves seamlessly at human body temperature. Now let us look at the cost honestly. It is undeniably more expensive than a generic store-brand box of cookies, often running around $5 for a 5-ounce box. You are paying a premium, but every single cent of that markup goes directly into real dairy fat instead of cheap, hydrogenated industrial filler. It is the absolute perfect gold standard for anyone who wants a clean, traditional indulgence without the toxic corporate shortcuts. GoSups.com. Michelle one next on our recommended list is a brand that completely dismantles the marketing trap of the mainstream snack aisle: Simple Mills Crunchy Chocolate Chip Cookies. Remember how we exposed the massive snack corporations for using the health halo effect to hide mountains of sugar and palm oil behind wholesome-sounding words? Simple Mills does the exact opposite by backing up their health claims with strict, uncompromising nutritional data. Available nationwide at Whole Foods, Target, and Wegmans, these cookies use a nutrient-dense base made from a blend of almond flour, organic coconut flour, and flax seeds. But the absolute real triumph here is the chocolate chips. Unlike the major brands that sneak in compound coatings held together by vegetable fats and industrial emulsifiers, Simple Mills uses real chocolate chips crafted from honest cane sugar, unsweetened chocolate, and pure cocoa butter. They are smartly sweetened with organic coconut sugar, bringing the total sugar count down to just 7 grams per serving. When you eat them, you get an authentic, satisfying crunch anchored by the nutty depth of real seeds and nuts, followed by the clean, sharp snap of genuine cocoa butter. The minor downside you need to know up front is that because they lack artificial binding agents and heavy gums, they can feel a bit more delicate and crumbly than a standard preservative-packed factory cookie. But if you are looking for a clean, everyday snack that you can feel completely comfortable putting in a school lunchbox or eating after a workout, this is an exceptional swap that justifies every penny of its price tag. Bakers is show 1 moving up to a truly exceptional premium treat. We have to look at Siete grain-free Mexican shortbread cookies. Founded by a Mexican-American family in Texas, Siete has built an incredible reputation across the United States for recreating classic heritage comfort foods using incredibly clean, whole food components. You can find these easily at H-E-B, Whole Foods, and Sprouts. Instead of relying on cheap wheat flour heavily padded with industrial conditioners, Siete crafts these treats using an innovative blend of almond flour and tapioca flour, binding everything together with pure avocado oil. The real star of the show here is the flavor profile, which utilizes organic coconut sugar, real cinnamon, and genuine vanilla extract to deliver a rich, deeply comforting sweetness that feels completely homemade. When you bite into one of these shortbread cookies, the texture is remarkably light and airy, offering a delicate, melting crumb that perfectly highlights the warmth of the real cinnamon without hitting your system with a massive high-fructose corn syrup crash. They are a premium product, and they carry a premium price tag, usually hovering around $5 to $6 for a small bag. If you are on a strict budget, this is definitely an occasional luxury rather than a daily staple, but the cost is fully justified by the use of high-grade avocado oil and grain-free flours that cater beautifully to anti-inflammatory diets. It is an honest, exceptionally well-executed alternative to the oil-soaked, highly processed sweets dominating the center aisles. Finally, for the absolute chocolate purists who are completely done with the waxy, fake chocolate coatings exposed in our avoid list, the ultimate recommendation is Tate's Bake Shop Double Chocolate Chip Cookies. Originally starting as a small local bakery in Southampton, New York, Tate's has expanded into a massive national favorite available at Walmart, Safeway, and Publix, yet they have managed to maintain a remarkably clean profile for their classic lines. The double chocolate version is an absolute masterclass in rich, thin, and crispy baking. The ingredient list avoids the industrial trap of vegetable oil blending, relying heavily on real butter, unbleached flour, and pure cocoa powder. The chocolate chips scattered throughout are the real deal, utilizing genuine chocolate liquor and cocoa butter rather than cheap palm kernel fats. The sensory experience is phenomenal. It is a loud, deeply satisfying, buttery snap that immediately floods your palate with the intense, bittersweet complexity of real cocoa, entirely free from the cloying, throat-burning sweetness of high-fructose corn syrup. The trade-off here is strictly health-focused. Tate's does not claim to be a low-calorie diet food. It contains real sugar and real butter, so moderation is key. But if your goal is to sit down with a glass of milk and enjoy an authentic, deeply satisfying chocolate experience without ingesting a single drop of hidden industrial stabilizers or fake cocoa substitutes, Tate's is the most reliable, mainstream triumph on the American supermarket shelf. Armed with this knowledge, you are no longer a defenseless victim of corporate food scientists. When you walk into a Target, Trader Joe's, or Albertsons, you can run your own independent inspection in under 10 seconds. To take total control over what hits your kitchen counters, you must memorize these 5 unyielding rules of the snack aisle. First, verify the foundational fat source by flipping the package over and looking for pure butter or cold-pressed oils. If you see palm oil, palm kernel oil, or hydrogenated cottonseed oil in the top 3 ingredients, put the box back immediately, because you are looking at a shelf-stable industrial brick designed for logistics, not human biology. Second, audit the legal terminology of any chocolate elements on the packaging, ensuring it explicitly reads milk chocolate or dark chocolate rather than chocolatey, fudge-coated, or compound coating, which are specific FDA-regulated terms that signal the complete removal of natural cocoa butter in favor of cheap vegetable oil substitutes. Third, execute a strict ingredient count test, choosing items with fewer than 7 easily recognizable whole food ingredients and treating any long, dense block of scientific text full of artificial emulsifiers like polyglycerol, polyricinoleate, or chemically altered starches as an immediate red flag. Fourth, resist the deceptive marketing trap of the oat and natural halo effect on boxes of breakfast or granola bars, verifying the actual sugar and corn syrup counts under the nutrition facts panel instead of blindly trusting rustic green cardboard or images of sun-drenched fields. Fifth, actively track the physical weight printed on the front of your favorite packages over time to instantly detect hidden corporate shrinkflation tactics, allowing you to reject brands that quietly demand you pay the exact same premium price at the register for a drastically reduced amount of actual product. Cocoa News of the systemic reality of the modern American food supply chain is entirely built on the assumption that you will remain distracted, rushed, and profoundly trusting of familiar childhood logos. Multi-billion-dollar snack conglomerates do not reformulate their classic recipes with cheap palm fat and high fructose corn syrup out of a desire to feed people better. They do it because the stock market demands ever-growing quarterly profit margins at any cost. By engineering synthetic approximations of food that trick your brain's evolutionary cravings while cutting production expenses to the absolute marrow, they have successfully transformed grocery shopping into a corporate shell game. The single most powerful shift in thinking you can make right now is to stop treating grocery shopping as an act of blind brand loyalty and start treating it as a transactional, investigative evaluation of an ingredients label. Thank you deeply for spending your valuable time uncovering the truth with me today. If this investigative breakdown opened your eyes to the corporate illusions hiding in plain sight on your grocery shelves, do me an immense favor and hit that hype button right now, because every single share pushes this video to someone who is currently feeding their family waxy, synthetic oil coatings without ever knowing it. I want to hear directly from you down in the comments section. Which of these massive snack brands is sitting in your